Here are the conditions that the lap was set in. First we watch the lap and then we analyze. Okay, as we approach T1, which is the most important point on the track, we are on the lookout for the 200 board. We're on the lookout for this kink in the barrier and also the grass here shifting to a more narrow position. These are all good reference points to use. Use whatever you think is best for you. I brake around this area. It's better to brake early than late here because you don't want to miss this corner. You don't want to miss this apex. You want to get on throttle as early as possible because there's a long straight following this. At the apex, stay to the left of this big curb. We don't want to jump over that. We want to graze that and get on throttle as early as possible. The car will rotate. Now, you can get an off track here if you push too much. Obviously, in quality, that's not a good thing. During the race, use this if you need to. You can gain about a tenth or maybe 2/10 through here if you do it right. You know, so that's a little bit of a performance off track. You want your right side tires in this area over here. That's gonna maximize the track for you. Get off the curbing as early as possible. So as the car drifts out, get it back onto the pavement. If you ride on here, then the car is going to bottom out and you're going to lose a lot of time. Keep it to the left to open up and widen the entry here so we don't scrub speed. Make sure you hit your upshifts because if you don't, you're going to lose a lot of time. As we move on to the bus stop, very difficult corner, very big curbs. This one is more of a feeler type. It's fairly late on the brakes. You can see like around where the Marshall post is about the 200 board. We're going to be on the brakes, and our goal is to graze this barrier here. We're going to graze the edge of this barrier. We want the right side tires to go through this part of the curbing. We want to straight line this as much as possible. Down to 5th gear. Running over this curb as well. On throttle early on throttle. The car will rotate. And even though I got it a little bit wrong here, and I missed this 3rd curb, you want to go over this 3rd curb as well. And then over the 4th curb. Even though I missed it, the car still rotated in 5th. So the car has tons of rotation to here. So don't be afraid to utilize the throttle there. We should be running out to about halfway here. Do not run out too much. It's not necessary. Also, you don't want to be over here. That means you underdrove the car in the bus stop. So we're about halfway through. And again, this is more of a feeler type. We'll release the throttle, maybe even a dab of the brakes. Depends on how well you did it. You can see I did a little bit of dab of the brakes. And ideally, you want to get on throttle in this area prior to the access road on the right-hand side. And again, the car should rotate nicely here. And you want to avoid this little piece of grass over here because that'll give you an off track. So bring the car back to the right-hand side. You see how the grass kind of changes colors here? Right there. There's a dark patch here and then lighter patch here. I'm braking after that. After the transition point of those colors. Sometimes this is not visible though. So it's not the best braking marker, to be honest. But it is visible most of the time. So we're braking either third or second, depends what you like. Again, early throttle. Maximize, use all the curb. Too much and it's going to bottom out a little bit. So you got to be careful. Onto this next right-hander. We're braking after the 200 board. And again, these, you're going to want to do very late apexes, right? For these. But it's a late apex with an early throttle. Basically, so you want to get on throttle as early as possible, but aim to hit the curb like at a later point, right? And the car will rotate, and you should be getting out wide early. A lot of people end up getting wide around this area. Well, that means you underdrove the car. You should want to be getting out to the wide side as the road is opening up. Otherwise, you underdrove it. All right, as we get towards the end of the lap, we're looking for the 200 board. And we're going to brake just after the 200 board. Again, we're looking for early throttle. Right, we're turning in. We're going to graze this curb on the right-hand side. And early throttle. You should be able to hit 100% fairly early. You can run all the way out wide. You just got to make sure you bring the car back in prior to the grass here, or else you get an off track. And this one's tough. And there's not really a great braking reference point. There's this little mark here that is kind of visible. So you can use that. But I would say err on the side of caution. Brake early. And you want a nice late apex here so you can get on throttle early. This is a danger zone. This is a place where a lot of races can end. Do not dip a tire on this grass. If you feel like you're understeering, which happens a ton here, do not keep your foot in it. Release the throttle. Fight the urge to add steering lock and continue with the throttle, because what's going to happen is the understeer is going to continue, but eventually the front tire is going to grip up, and then the rear tire is more than likely going to get on this grass, and then you're going to end up in this wall over here. So very careful here. Very, very careful. You want a really great exit because this next left-hander is a flat-out zone, right? Which we're going to make sure we stay inside the curbing here. Yeah, you can run out wide over here, but the car bottoms out quite a bit in the middle of the curb. So stay away from the middle of the curb. It's hard to get the car back to the left if you're out here because of the bottoming out issue. You can do it, but the car can hold it here. Yeah, you're asking a lot of the steering, more than normal. But in my opinion, it is better, especially in quali. Lastly, last corner. Again, danger zone here. Easy to end your race on this barrier over here on exit. So be mindful of when the throttle happens. I'm on the lookout for this tire barrier here where it ends. That's about, the area where you want to be braking for the corner. And you don't want to turn in too early. Otherwise, you're going to end up clipping this curbing. You basically want the car to kind of get into that groove there. And as you can see, it looks like I'm going to hit this curbing, but I'm not on throttle yet. So once I get on throttle, it kind of lines it up into there, as you can see. And it should be a very smooth and confident throttle here. If you're struggling to get on throttle, that means just way too early on throttle. So be mindful of that. And again, we're going to be really close to that wall there. That is the wall that's going to end your race. It's going to bend your steering if you're not careful. Some things to keep in mind. Cold tires are definitely a thing in the first lap. Be mindful of that. The car, it's easy to ask too much steering in these corners because they're long, winding corners. So in the first lap, try not to ask too much of the steering. Brake early, survive the first lap. People will spin out because they're going to crank that steering. And as soon as you crank that steering too much, the rear just snaps. There's nothing you can do about that other than just warm up the tires better. Again, and so you have a full pace lap here. Make sure you warm up the tires. Some other things to keep in mind: bus stop. Traffic is difficult in the bus stop, so be mindful of that. Try to time it. Release the throttle. Save some fuel if you're not sure you're going to be able to pass. So make cautious decisions. Make good decisions in traffic. Oh, and lastly, this track likes to eat up tires. So if you notice that your left front is, for example, getting eaten up, that means you're steering too much. So try not to steer too much. That means you're not steering with the pedal. So that's more complicated stuff. But again, just some things to think about while you're doing the race. And I think that covers everything. Wish you good luck at Watkins Glen.